Greetings, friends and followers. This is Nurses Talking. I am Dale Barcy. As always, if you like what you see and hear, subscribe, leave us a comment, and give us a like. So today, I am particularly pleased to have a conversation with Ms. Yvonne Mapp. Yvonne is a registered nurse of 43 years. She is currently retired from nursing. She graduated from Harlem Hospital School of Nursing. She attended Borough of Manhattan Community College and Howard University. Later, she attended New York Institute of Arts and Design. She has a real passion for helping people. She's a serial entrepreneur, and she's a mother of three. She's a grandmother of three. And most importantly to me, she's my friend. So, Yvonne, thank you for coming. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's been a long time in coming, but it's an awesome pleasure.
Yes. So thank you so much. So I'll start with you where I start with everybody. Why did you become a nurse? What inspired you?
Well, there's a few things, but more so, my grandmother on my dad's side, my paternal grandmother, I spent a lot of time with her prior to the age of 7. Mm-hmm. And she was so kind. I still feel her kindness all the way down through the generation, down through the years and several generations later. Mm-hmm. I still could feel her kindness, and I still clearly remembered how she shared her life, and she shared whatever she had, whether it was a dinner or love or something out of her garden. I remember how she, just shared everything she had with whomever she came in touch with. And the other thing as well that inspired me, and I'm not sure it was something or someone, but I believe it was God inspired. Mm-hmm. Because it just came over me. I guess I was about 8 years old, and I had no prior experience with medical people, nurses, or anything like that. In fact, I used to hate when I go to the doctor for my injections. Mm-hmm. The smallpox vaccines and all those things. I hated the smell of the clinic. I hated the smell of the hospital. I hated to be stuck. So it really had nothing to do with that experience. It was just a God, sent thing. It just came over me. And I had that desire, and it stayed with me all the way through until I came to America, and my mom got me involved with my school and things like that.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So coming to America, what were the challenges for you getting into nursing school, becoming part of that kind of community?
Well, let's start with coming to America. Coming to America to me was, first of all, traumatizing. Mm-hmm. Because I came from a very warm climate. And of course, my favorite country, Barbados.
Yeah.
And so coming here was very traumatizing because of the temperature difference, first of all. Second of all, when I came, I realized that all my O-levels and my A-levels and whatever certificates I had didn't count.
Didn't mean a thing. Mm-hmm.
Didn't mean a thing, except the education that I acquired to get those certificates really came in handy, because I did not have to go back to school. I went straight away and took the GED. And then from there, I took the National Legal Nursing exams. And then I took the exam to get into nursing school, and I was on my way. Okay. So it really, the fact that I spent time paying attention, learning in the early years, it paid off to give me a great start once I get here. I didn't have to go back and then start again. I was able to start right away, and that really propelled me into my career really at an early age. Mm-hmm. But education is really a key.
Yeah, exactly. There's no two ways about that. So once you became a nurse, where'd you work? What kind of areas you worked in?
Well, as a nurse, you have to be exposed to all areas. Mm-hmm. I was exposed to the psych area, which I liked a lot because I like listening to people and helping people. I did not like maternity and child health. I did not like the emergency room. I'll tell you what I didn't like first. I didn't like the emergency room. I did not like maternal and child health. But I liked adult care. I liked orthopedic medicine. I liked adult care medicine. I liked the intensive care units. I relished in, I really did good in med surge and all the adult care medicine areas.
Mm-hmm.
But my favorite was gerontology.
Yeah. So why is that your favorite?
Because I love working with the elderly. And of course, it put me back in the memory of my grandmother, because it made me, even though she passed away, I was still back in her presence. Whenever I was in the presence of a senior citizen or elderly person, it brought those pleasant memories back. And I just relived them, and I enjoyed reliving them for over 25 years or more of my career.
Awesome. I am a little bit the exact opposite, because I never wanted to be in gerontology at all.
Wow.
No, I was I wanted the excitement, and I had the excitement of the OR or the ER. That was my thing until after I had children and decided that the level of adrenaline pumping, because at that time I worked in trauma OR and I had 3 small children, and that kind of level of adrenaline I said I needed a break from this. And so that's how I got into gerontology, thinking that it was going to be a temporary thing. It turned out to be much longer than I thought it was going to be.
Yes. Well, I knew early on that I did not like that adrenaline rush all the time. I did my rotation through emergency room, the OR, maternal child health, pediatrics, and those rotations. I didn't enjoy those rotations as much as, I just did it to get out of them. I passed them to get out of them and make sure that, I passed.
Yeah.
But those were not my favorite. In fact, I wanted to be, the only adrenaline part of nursing I wanted was actually to be a flight nurse.
Okay.
I at one point entertained, because my instructor was an Army nurse, a couple of Army nurses actually. There were two of them. And one taught me med surg, the other one was the director of the program. And I became very interested in some of the stories she used to tell, about being an Army nurse. And at one point I entertained being a flight nurse, where you fly in the plane and you go in, you transport or you escort trauma victims back to the hospital or whatever. So at one point I entertained that. But for the most part, I've always dealt with adults. I prefer not to deal with children and the younger people, because I am very emotional and I get sucked into their pain. And dealing with a parent that is basically scared and frightened because the child is not going to make it, or the child is so sick. And sometimes the parents, to me, could have been more attentive. I would feel like, oh, you could have been more attentive and bring the baby before it gets to this point. So I found that my emotional involvement would have been too judgmental and too, too emotionally drawn. And I couldn't be objective. I couldn't think clearly. Plus I had my own kids. And, I tried so hard to prevent them from either, from being sick or getting into the hospital or having to be, ill for any long period of time. So I used to judge them based on how I treat my kids. And I'm saying, well, why can't you do the same? So I said, you know what, that's not going to be good.
Yeah.
So I decided, you know what, let me just stay away. I will go and I will visit and I will say, oh, goo goo gaga, oh, beautiful baby, things like that. I play with the baby. But when it comes to the sick children, I said, you know what? That's not going to be good for me. So, I'm finding that kids can't tell you what's wrong.
I know.
You can't have a conversation with them per se.
Yeah.
So you have to figure it out, and it takes a lot of time and patience.
Yeah.
Whereas with an adult, you're not only able to conversate with them and for them to give you some sort of idea of what's going on so you can pinpoint the problem, but they also share with you lots of experience.
Yeah.
And I used to love sitting at their, quote unquote, sitting at their feet, listening to all the life's experiences. And, and that is one of the things that I find that by doing that, I became very matured very early. At a very young age, I became very matured. And I was able to avoid a lot of pitfalls that a lot of young people go through because I was so appreciative of all those lessons that I was able to learn at the feet of all those senior adults.
So having spent 40 plus years in nursing, is there anything about nursing life you'd like to see change?
Well, what I would like to see change, which is the obvious, of course, that nurses be, more appreciative, okay, and thought of on a more a necessary basis. Nurses are necessary. They're necessary in all aspects of healthcare. But beside that, I would also like for nurses to be given a little bit more latitude, a little bit more freedom as far as teaching preventative health. A lot of us are taken up and are occupied with cure and not enough prevention. We chase the symptoms, we chase the diagnosis. We chase the symptoms, we chase the diagnoses. We do not chase prevention. And a lot of the illnesses and the diagnoses that are given to us can actually be prevented. This society I found, and I experienced this even since I retired. The society, the medical society that we're here in this country, the emphasis is on cure and very little emphasis is on prevention. In fact, they do not rally and they do not applaud prevention. If you have a diagnosis and you need pills, there is an insurance policy for it.
You can do that, yeah.
They will give you, they will pay for you to have pills. They will pay for you to have a diagnosis. They will pay for you to be sick. That's sick. That's sick.
Yeah.
When you're healthy, you have to pay out of your pocket. When you have no diagnosis, when you're taking no pills, when you just want to go for annual checkup or preventative healthcare checkup, you have to pay for those things yourself. So what does that tell you? It tells you that I think the pendulum is swung on the wrong side of healthcare.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but that's my opinion.
That's your opinion, and good for you.
Or leave it.
And good for you. I actually tend to agree with you that we spend a lot too much time actually, or maybe not too much time on cure, but we don't spend enough time on prevention. Not enough time, not enough effort, not enough education, not enough, a whole lot of things on prevention. So,
Definitely.
I have to say that I agree with you. What do you say is your greatest achievement as a nurse?
Okay. Well, I've achieved a lot as a nurse.
Yeah.
On a personal level as well as professional, but two things stand out to me. I remember over about 25 years ago or so, I was approached by the director of nursing at the facility I was working at. This was a private facility in New York City. And basically the specialty, of course, was, gerontology. It was a nursing home / hospital. And I was approached, unbeknownst to me, I was on the radar, I was being watched. And I was approached one day on my unit, and I was a little bit taken back because I thought I'd done something wrong.
Mhm.
You know, when the director of nursing and the assistant director of nursing walks upon your unit and asks for you, you know, you say, oh my God, what did I do
I
wrong?
do.
So to my surprise, they wanted to give me some good news. And the good news was that they were about to open, back in the day, it was just about on the horizon, it was just starting. They were about to open what we call a step-down ICU
Mhm.
in this facility. And they wanted me to head it up.
Mhm.
I didn't even know what they were talking about. I mean, I have ICU experience.
Mhm.
I've had very successful ICU experience. And I was in a nursing home at this point, working as a head nurse,
Mhm.
you know, and you know, the ICU experience was like behind me in my mind.
Yeah.
But I think they went searching for my history. And of course I had kept my my skills, you know, training up. I used to go to
Mhm.
extra training and seminars, and I
Yeah.
got a lot of certifications, you know, on my own.
Mhm.
And so they started to realize, I guess they did a little research and they saw that I was doing all this stuff on my own. And one day, because, you know, as a nurse, I think how they found out is because I kept asking them for reimbursement of my fees.
Aha. Aha.
I think that's what triggered it.
Yeah.
They got they got a little you know, birdie whispered in their ears, oh, here she comes again asking for reimbursement, because I used to just go to these classes and pay for them up front, and then I would, you know, as a member of the union, you
Mhm.
know, you get reimbursed.
Yeah.
So I was doing that quite often, I believe, and they got a wind of it. And so they saw that I had specialties in this and specialties in that and certifications in this and certifications in that. And so one day they decided to basically take me off the unit and use me to start this new ICU up. I felt very honored.
Yeah.
I
Indeed.
felt very honored. And the thing about it is that when it comes unexpected, it's even better. I wasn't looking for it. I was
Mhm.
just doing this for me. I was just keeping my skills up for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But it came out of the blue, unexpected. And yes, and they said to me, you have carte blanche. You could pick your staff. You know, you do the schedule for 24 hours. You're in charge of the 24-hour staffing. You're in
Yeah.
charge of the floor. You're in charge of the education of the staff. You're in charge of all the equipment that is ordered and comes to the floor. You have to, you know, you're in charge of the in-service schedule. You're in charge of everything. I says, wow, okay. That was a great achievement. The other achievement was, again, I mentioned I was a member of a union, the New
Mhm.
York State
Yeah.
Nurses, and I was again selected to be a delegate. I did not run. I was not interested in running. My name was put in the ballot, and I won. I was just minding my business. The nurses that were in the facility chose me unanimously to be their leader.
Mm.
And I became the chairperson of the bargaining body at this particular facility. And I was a delegate at first, and then I became the chairperson. And the chairperson that was going out gave me her blessing. And she said to me, they couldn't have chosen a better person.
Mhm.
I said, well, why do you say that? She said, well, I would have chosen you myself. So that was one of the, you know, and then while I was there during the 6 years of being a chairperson, I actually was very instrumental in helping them to steer the bargaining unit into 2 successful contracts. And each contract got better. I was also able to represent the nurses in Albany for several years. And we worked on a couple of legislations, legislations. One of them was, the first one was the Whistleblower Act.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember,
Yeah.
when the nurses couldn't talk about what doctors do
Mm-hmm.
or what they didn't do.
What they didn't do.
So, they would get fired or whatever. So we worked on that particular piece of legislation. And the other piece of legislation that I was privy to work on while I was serving was no mandatory overtime.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of nurses were, exposed to this by the employers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
To automatically,
Yeah.
be exposed to mandatory
Mandatory
overtime.
overtime. Mm-hmm.
That was an issue, and it was a quality of life issue for a lot of nurses who had, a lot of them had issues at home with their own families that they needed to take care of. And of course, it wasn't healthy for themselves to be doing all this overtime and being tired. And then when you make mistakes, then there's no one to take the
Right.
blame.
Mm-hmm.
You get blamed for these things, and the same person that asks you to do the overtime is like hands off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You on your
Mm-hmm.
own.
Yeah.
A lot of nurses were losing their license and getting written up and losing their jobs. So yeah, I was very happy to partake in that legislation. So those are just two of the things that really stand out. Of course, there were several others,
Mm-hmm.
but those are the two things that I'm most proud of in my 43 years of working with nurses. Yes.
Awesome. 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 So I know that, and I briefly I want to talk about this because I know that you have a particular interest in pancreatic cancer. And I want to know what you want people to know about this. I know you want to help people raise awareness about pancreatic cancer. What would you say to them?
Well, my interest in pancreatic cancer actually is very close to home.
Mm-hmm.
My mom, God bless her soul, I just lost her at the end of 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And due to that disease, she suffered from diabetes a long time. And, she always complained that there was something going on in her stomach. And, we discovered that's what it was. I also lost another really close friend in 2015. He was diagnosed in the month of June, and by July, he was hospitalized, and by October, he had passed. That was my first experience with pancreatic cancer in 2015. My second one is, of course, my mom. So I had reached out to the Pancreatic Society in PA back in 2015, 2016. And so I'm on their list to, they send me lots of literature,
Mm-hmm.
and they send me, lots of updated information, etc. And I just thought at this time, since I had my mom, it really brought it to the forefront. And I say, you know what, maybe I need to speak on this. Mm-hmm. And have people be more aware. They're actually they're trying to do a lot of fundraising. There's a walk in every state, just about every state or your city. And they're doing fundraising basically to develop treatments, medications. And I just want people to be aware that you can get tested if you see something, feel something, or, you're aware of something going on. And usually people that have liver disease or cirrhosis or any diabetic issues with the pancreas or whatever, anything related to the pancreas, because, it's right there by the liver and things like that. So it disguises itself as cirrhosis, by the way. And my friend that had it, they thought that he had cirrhosis of the liver, but he never drank. He didn't have the history of being an alcoholic. He didn't have any of that stuff going on before. So they had to dig and dig and dig, and then they finally diagnosed him. But by that time, he was in stage 4, and he didn't have a lot of time left. So I just want people to be aware. It could be diagnosed earlier. It could be disguised. So be aware that, pay attention. And of course, if you have a friend or family member, you can actually contribute to helping this disease to be eradicated.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. So thank you for that. Thank you for bringing this out there, because as you said, it gets diagnosed late. It's very insidious.
Yes.
Many times the symptoms are not immediately noted or noticed, and they can be so mild to begin with, that people are not really paying attention. So I'm very happy that you are helping to be on the forefront of this, because it seems to me we're hearing more and more about it.
Yes.
All right, so let's be a little bit lighter. I said at the beginning, you're a serial entrepreneur. This young lady, since I've met Yvonne has always been doing something other than nursing as well as nursing. So right now, though, your passion for helping people again is through credit repair. What brought you to credit repair?
Well, my passion for helping people. My passion for helping people. Well, let me take you back a little bit. About 30 or so years ago, I was divorced, and I have 3 babies, and I wasn't aware that divorcing, these changes, these dramatic changes in your life causes changes also in your financial status. Okay. I was raised in a family where, my dad was a businessman all my life. So I was raised knowing how to manage money, control money, etc. And I was raised also in with the mindset of living within your means.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Even though my dad was a businessman and he had access to a lot of money, he didn't splurge us.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't splurged. And being the firstborn of like 6 of my siblings, I was the one that had, the majority of the training.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And the exposure. So my dad gave me what was basic.
Yeah.
He provided basic clothing, shelter, food, education. And you took those raw materials and you launched them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Along with, a little bit of Christianity,
Yeah. Yeah.
God-fearing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So you launched your life. And so when I got divorced, I continued to pull on those core values. And I went ahead, to restart my life. Unbeknownst to me, my credit took a big hit. And at one point, I couldn't pay my bills.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't provide shelter for my kids.
Mm-hmm.
But then I didn't even know anything about credit score and what it meant. I didn't know that it gave you access to money. I didn't know anything, gave you access to credit cards, nothing like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I basically struggled to pull myself back up. I filed bankruptcy. I had family members co-sign for me, for my car, for my home. And I pulled myself back up basically, little bit by little bit. I had to wait for 7 years for my bankruptcy to fall off.
Yeah.
There was no education. There was no, there's no way to turn to find this information. So when I discovered 2 years ago, this company, and the first thing that really got my, they started to talk to me about financial literacy and credit score and credit repair and all this. I wasn't even interested in that part of it so much because my score at this point was back up to where, it could be. And so I had no problem with managing my money. I had no problem with my credit score. But what really made me take a second look was when they said it was a nonprofit organization,
Mm-hmm.
and it promoted financial literacy. So I took a double take?
Yeah.
That was what really made me sit up and pay attention, was the fact that it was a nonprofit and that the emphasis was on financial literacy and helping people to manage money and get the credit score back to where it needed to be. I says, oh, well, I know about that. I was there.
I was there.
That happened to me. So I didn't know where I was going to go with it because I got no information really. I was just introduced to it and that was it. So the person that introduced it to me to one of the leaders of the company, one of the agents of the company. And that's where I then started to get my education.
Yeah.
So he said to me, do you know anyone? I says, not really. He says, well, why don't you invite your family and friends onto, at the time, Zoom was coming big time, you know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Zoom was starting because that was just before the pandemic.
Mm.
And so he says, you know, why don't you invite your friends to come on Zoom and your family to come on Zoom, and let's all have a little sort of like a little party, you know, information party, as you said.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. And you know, I discovered that my children needed it, my siblings needed it, my friends needed it. What? You guys are like, needed help? You don't say anything? Oh, well, we didn't know. I said, see, I didn't know either years ago.
Yeah.
I said, that's the problem right there. With what you don't know, you don't know, you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I set about then to allow people in my immediate environment to know. And then I decided to allow people outside my immediate environment to know. And I'm basically now on a passion of allowing as many people that want to know to know. So I'm looking forward to really getting this knowledge out there, this education out there. And, you know, we nurses are big on education.
Yeah.
We're big on sharing.
Yeah.
We're big on being passionate about teaching and sharing. And so I'm using those skills that I brought from my nursing life to this particular entity. And I expect that it's going to be just as successful as I was in my nursing career.
I expect so too. Knowing you, I expect so too.
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
So since you brought up nursing again, and let me ask you this then. I have two questions. First of all, I think the first one I want to ask is, if you had to describe the most essential quality of a nurse in one word, what would that word be?
Wow. Let me think. Well, I'll tell you what I found was good for me and still is good for me. And that is being trustworthy.
Okay.
Or being honest, or, you know, trust, you know, so I want to have trust in you.
Yeah.
And I found it throughout my career that if you're a person that can be trusted, that you're a person that's honest. And in fact, my honesty, to be honest with you, almost got me in trouble. I had a few scripts because I was too honest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I barely edged out of it because I had a supervisor that one day tapped my shoulder, pulled me to the side and said, listen, everyone doesn't appreciate honesty. And I was like, what? You're a bit too honest. You gotta watch you gotta watch how you tell people how you tell certain people things, because everyone cannot accept honesty.
Yeah.
And that really hit home. And it made me know that, hey, you are an honest person. You can be trusted.
Yeah.
Because you do not color things. You do not try to appease to someone's being in denial or less than truth.
Yeah.
To hit the truth right on, and deal with the consequences.
Yeah.
I think it's better than to tell a lie and then have to keep fooling that person, or convincing yourself that, oh, you know, you did the best for that person. I personally believe in, you got something to tell me, just give it to me.
Just tell me.
Just give it to me. I will deal with it. And I will thank you. Some people don't want to thank you for the truth. They want to hate you and they want to call you all sorts of names and things like that. But you know what? I sleep at night. You know, I sleep very soundly at night. I have learned though that, like I said, honesty could be detrimental if you tell it to the wrong person or in the wrong way.
The wrong way.
So I have learned how to deliver the truth. I've learned.
You're still gonna say the truth, just gonna deliver it.
I'm gonna tell you the truth. But I learned how to deliver it and make it be a little bit more palatable, you know. But I'll never go against my own personal, how can I say, my own personal, you know, values when it comes to being honest and true, because I cannot spend time trying to remember a lie.
I know.
I have no energy. I have no energy or time for that.
It's a lot of work.
I have no energy. I have no time for that. So I'm going to tell you the truth because I need to sleep at night.
Yeah.
I need to be able to rest without worrying, you know, without waking up every hour on the hour to say, oh, did I say this or did I say that? What did I say now? Did I tell? No, I can't. That's too much energy. my days are for limited. And my belief is that I have to maximize them.
Yeah.
You know, that's my belief.
Indeed.
I have a lot to do and I have a little time to do it in. God has placed me here with a purpose and a passion, and you know, and I got to fulfill his task and his work for me. I got to do his work. I got to do the job that he placed on my heart to do. So several years ago when I was a little girl, I said, I want to be a nurse. And Mom, I don't want to be just any nurse. I want to be a good nurse. And you know what that means? Being a good nurse means being a good person.
Yeah, it does. It does.
And to be a good person, you have to be truthful to yourself first.
So then, you know, that walks me right into, I was going to ask you about self-care. So what does that mean to you?
Oh, that means taking care of this temple that God has given you. You know, God has brought us out of eternity for a short period of time. When he allowed my mom to be the vessel through which I came, he said, you're unique, you're special, you're here for a purpose. I want you to experience the joy of being alive. I'm going to give you a certain amount of time and years, and I want you to live in my glory and give me praise and satisfy me and glorify my name, because you're my temple. Okay. And as a temple and as a nurse, I think the combination was great because it taught me that I need to take care of my temple. And it gave me the tools under the education of being a nurse, how to do that. Okay. I was taught, I chose the right career that would teach me and let me know how to take care of my temple. And you do that again by preventative healthcare, making sure you stay in tune with your body, be aware of what your body is saying to you. And to do that, you have to pay attention. A lot of people ignore what their body is telling them. Our body is a perfect working machine. It's designed to function perfectly. If it goes off, it's going to fight to get back to perfection. Okay? Yeah. It's going to do everything it can to get you back to equilibrium. You have to be aware what it's doing, and you got to help it. You got to stay in tune. You got to stay aware, and you have to do things to help it. That means eating right, sleeping the amount of time you need to sleep so it can replenish yourself, giving it the nutrients that it needs to build and to repair, giving it the rest. You need to rest.
Yeah.
You know, you need to stretch your brain by testing it and giving it education, feeding it information, reading, you know, reading and exposing yourself to some of the beauties of this world, you know, enjoying the sky, enjoying the sun, enjoying your traveling, enjoying learning about new people and their customs and their habits, and learning new languages, stretching your brain so that it can keep functioning and you don't get Alzheimer's and dementia and all these other things that it gets from poor use or lack of use. And then again, being good to yourself and your family, making sure that you spend time with your family, the significant others, the people that are important to you, your friends, your best friends, your buddies, laughing. Just kidding around and having fun, treating yourself to spa days and allowing your body to just rejuvenate, allowing someone to just, you know, just breathe on you and help you and bring you back into that Zen.
You just said something that resonated with me though. You talked about allowing someone to help you. And in my book, part of self-care, that's a big thing.
Yes.
Very often we don't, I'm very guilty of that, you know, people want to do, I have to say, you know, do you need help? And my first thing is, no, I can do it myself. We don't often allow other people in to assist and to help and to rejuvenate. That's, you know, that's something I have had to learn and learn and learn again.
Can I confess?
Yes.
Can I confess?
Yes, you can confess.
Me too.
You can confess.
Hey, listen, I have been like that most of my, I say not life, but career life.
Yeah.
Because you know us.
Yeah.
We're go-getters. We get it done. You know, as nurses, get it done. You know, just give it to us and we can solve that problem, you know?
Yeah.
And you know, for many, many years, like you said, I used to be like that. I was like that. But one day I had an awakening.
Yeah.
And someone said something to me, you know, you never allow anyone to help you. You never allow anyone to do anything for you. And, you know, I also realized that, you know, I used to not be easily, you know, when people give me a gift, like somebody offers you a gift, I would take it, you know, very nonchalantly. And I realized one day, I said, you know what I've been doing is not completely correct. Because when you give a gift, it gives good feelings to the giver.
Yes.
And you gotta receive it.
Yeah.
Because the giver wants you to feel good about them giving it. And so the feelings go back and forth.
Yes. Yeah.
And you gotta appreciate the giver as much as the gift.
That's the gift.
And God gave us life. This is a gift. The time He gave us is a gift. Every day is a gift. And if you don't appreciate, if you don't get to that point in your brain where you appreciate those gifts, someone doing something for you, or someone giving something to you, or someone even saying a nice thing to you, like, oh, your dress is nice.
Yeah.
Or, oh, you look great today. If you don't receive those in the way it was given, you're not giving that, doing that. Giving that back and forth. If you're blocking the blessings, you're blocking stuff coming to you as well. And we don't realize that. You gotta, and when you ask someone to help you, they feel good to help because they feel important to you. And you have to let other people feel important too, not just you feeling important. You gotta allow other people the privilege of serving you so that they too can feel important. They too can get that emotional boost, that adrenaline,
Yeah.
And, then they say, oh, you appreciate me. Yes, we appreciate each other.
Indeed, indeed, indeed.
Yes,
Indeed.
it's necessary. It's
It is
absolutely necessary.
It is very necessary. It is very necessary. And
So
I'm
yeah,
really,
it's a lesson. It's a lesson. It's hard to learn, but we need to learn it. We have to learn it.
it's a daily one for me. I don't know if I'm ever gonna get there completely.
You'll discover once you learn it how good
I'll
it
get
feels.
there. I'll get there. It's just like, patience is not my although my daughter, my youngest child, disagrees with me when I say this, but patience is not my biggest virtue. I'm usually like, let me just let me,
I know.
I don't, I want to just
let me just do it.
Let me just do it.
Right?
Let me just do it.
I know. Yeah. But you're getting there. You're working on it.
I will get there.
It's a work in progress.
Oh my God. Yvonne, thank you so very much for this conversation. I have enjoyed every single minute of it. Thank you so very much for this.
Listen, girl, we've known each other for what, more than 30 years?
Long time.
And when we met, we were both young ladies, young women in the nursing field, in our careers and in our families' lives. You met me at a time where I had just gotten out of some trauma, and was restarting my life. And, basically, we just met and somehow our spirits meshed. And I don't know what it is, but I know we're not friends. We are actually sisters. We're sisters. And people say, oh, you're not blood sisters, but yes, we are blood sisters, just from two different moms. But God puts people in your way because he knows who you need in your way. And we have had the same career, but we've traveled different paths.
Yeah.
We met at one point, and then we took off to two different directions, but guess what? We never left each other.
Never, right.
We never left each other.
Indeed.
So
indeed.
it's really an honor and a privilege, and I dare say an absolute blessing that I'm able to come back and support you, and you're able to keep supporting me as you do. And it's really appreciative. I really appreciate it tremendously that you would think of me and invite me to come on to your program and ask me, questions that you just dug all this stuff up out of me that was deep down. You just stirred it all up. Stirred it all back. But I appreciate it because the memories are so great and pleasant. So thank you.
I so appreciate it, Yvonne. I cannot even tell you how much, but you know how much. And I will say in closing, this is not even relevant to nursing, it's just relevant to the two of us, that we have the kind of friendship that I appreciate. It's not a friendship that requires daily watering. And it's one that's just there. And if I don't talk to you for a month or 6 months, it doesn't really matter.
Or even 6 years.
Or 6 years, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. And that's the best kind of friendship you could ask for.
Yeah.
That's a special kind of friendship. It's just like we never lost any time.
No. So thank you, my dear. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Mwah, 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 mwah. Thank you as well.